Hi, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kai, and I like to DIY. This week's DIY project was inspired by an artist that I found on Pinterest. She is amazing. I'll put her right here. As you can see, she makes incredible, beautiful, larger-than-life flowers that you can hang on the wall, and I've wanted one ever since I saw them. And to be perfectly honest, I don't think I have the money to purchase one of her beautiful works of art. Hopefully one day I will, but today is not that day. So I will be trying to DIY my very own version. I have a ton of recycling. One of the reasons is that last week, the recycling guys forgot our house. And then the second reason is I have a problem. We get a lot of orders online, clearly. I love orchids. I have them all around my house, and I thought, what better way for a centerpiece in my house made of recycled material? Orchids, wall orchids. So I'm just gonna look at the shape of the petals and then try to draw them out on my cardboard. An easier way would probably just be to look it up online, like a cartoon version, but I don't choose the easy way. I make my life as hard as possible whenever I can. Okay, so from what I can tell, an orchid's petals typically has two big fat petals like this, and then three like this, and then there's, you know, like a weird looking one kind of jutting out in the middle. So I'm gonna cut these out and then use them as templates. They're not perfect, but they don't have to be perfect. I'm just winging them. So yeah, I'm gonna cut them out and then make more. And here's the shape of the middle piece. It kind of looks like a radish if a radish had legs, kind of like, ooh, Ratatash? Was that a Pokemon? I think it was a Pokemon. It was a radish or a turnip with legs, and it walked around and it said its name like all Pokemon. But anyway, this is what the middle looks like. Okay, so I want to say something. Honestly, the hardest part so far, besides, you know, drawing the shapes, is cutting it out with scissors. Luckily, my cardboard is not that thick, and I only need scissors. Otherwise, I guess I would have used an X-Acto knife or a box cutter. A box cutter makes the most sense here. But if there are any of you out there who are used to cutting cardboard into very intricate shapes, please let me know how you do it, because my hand is cramping up and pretty soon it's just gonna be a bloody fist. Yeah, send help. I have two of these petals that go in the front that look like big fans. And then I have three of these guys that go in the back and then down in front. And then I also have this guy that kind of sticks out in a weird little shape. So obviously an orchid is 3D and not 2D, and I want to make it as realistic as possible. And this just isn't going to cut it. So I'm going to try to, hello, hi, puppy break. So I am going to have to find a way to try to manipulate it and find a way to shape it into a more 3D shape. I think the best thing to do would be to tape some floral wire to the back and then see if it kind of molds to that general shape.
One eternity later.
So I rewatched her videos, and I did notice that she does use floral wire or some type of wire to shape her leaves. And I was toying with it, and all you need indeed is some floral wire. I just got mine from Michael's, your cardboard leaf, and this is key, masking tape. I'm assuming that you could maybe try to glue it down, maybe hot glue, but it just wouldn't provide the texture that you really need for the project, and it's bulky and hard, and why when you have masking tape? I also noticed that she doesn't use cardboard for the whole thing. She uses cardstock or poster paper and then a piece of cardboard to mount the main part of the body so that it has more structure. However, I have a ton of cardboard, so I will not be doing that. I will be using all cardboard. So my tip for floral wire is to measure out the length of your leaf, and then that's all you need. You need to cut this way and then a few this way. So basically we want to mimic the structure of a normal leaf. So you know how leaves are kind of like, they branch out like that with their veins. That should give you enough structure so that you can move the piece of cardboard around after it's all taped down. I'll show you. All I'm doing right now is I'm straightening my piece of floral wire the length of my leaf, and then I'm going to masking tape it down. When you tape it down, remember, it doesn't have to be clean or neat. It just has to work lengthwise. So you can be as messy as you want. It doesn't matter. So now I'm going to take shorter pieces of wire and then tape it widthwise, 3 down. 3 is all I use sometimes if it's a bigger piece of cardboard or if your cardboard is particularly thick. Double up on this or just use a bunch more wire. Now that you have your wire pieces, you want to wrap the entire leaf in masking tape, and that's because we're going to paper mache it, and you don't want the cardboard to get soaking wet and then disintegrate before you get to paint your pretty orchid pattern, right? Okay, so after it's all taped up, your leaf should look something like a mummy. And it doesn't have to be neat, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be protected from the paper mache that we're going to do. Now that your leaf is all taped up, all you want to do is kind of just bend the cardboard in all of the ways that you want your leaf to sit. So for me, I folded it kind of like a taco like this, and then I also bent the top of it. It's okay if you just destroy that cardboard as long as it doesn't rip, as long as it maintains its leaf shape, you should be fine. If you're already using an orchid for inspiration, that's great, because then you can study the leaves and see how they sit and then try to mimic that same shape with the wire. It's been a hot minute since I paper mache'd anything. In fact, I don't actually remember the last time that I paper mache'd anything. Maybe I have never paper mache'd anything in my life. Anyway, there are a lot of recipes online. Some call for just straight Elmer's glue, 1-to-1 mixed with water. Others say that if you mix wood glue with water, you actually get a waterproof version of paper mache that you can mount outside, which is pretty wild to think about. And another version that said you mix 1-to-1 with flour, just like all-purpose flour, and I don't really want to try that. So I'm going to do either wood glue or Elmer's glue. Personally, I used 1-to-1 mix of water and wood glue just because that was the first glue that I found in my craft cabinet. And then I also used just newspaper. I know that newspaper is kind of hard to find these days, so either you have junk mail, you can also go to the library and see if they have day-old newspapers that they want to get rid of, or you can actually also go to Trader Joe's. They have their frequent flyers, and then if you go at the end of the day and ask if they have many to spare, you can do what I did and just grab a few for this project. If not, I'm sure, construction paper works just the same. I actually already tried this a few days ago just because I wanted to see if it worked, but I paper mache'd my pieces, and obviously I'm not done paper macheing my pieces, and they actually look really sturdy. So all I need to do now is 1, finish paper macheing, and then 2, painting them white as a base. I am going to try to see if I need to use gesso or if just regular acrylic paint will work. I plan on using acrylic paint for the majority of the project, but look at how cute it is already. It already looks like an orchid, like the center of an orchid. So here are my petals. This took 2 to 3 coats, depending on which petal it was, and I did front and back just in case you could see the back when you're looking at the front. I will say that, admittedly, I did not need to paper mache the leaves. The masking tape was actually good enough to hold a heavy body acrylic paint, so if you want to skip the paper mache step, go ahead and do that because it's fine. It'll stick just fine. Masking tape is paper. So this is what I have so far. I cut out the cardboard and then I shaped it with the floral wire, and then I put masking tape all over it so that it looked like a mummy, and then I paper mache'd it, and then I painted it white as the base color. I actually saw in her videos that she uses some kind of joint compound or plaster of Paris or clay or something to smooth out the petals and the leaves. I forgot that step, and I actually don't think I need it for my version because I'm going to do kind of just a cardboard. I want it to look recycled. I want it to be known that it is recycled art. So I'm just gonna roll with it and paint the purple designs or pink designs on top of the white cardboard. So we'll see how that goes. The orchid pattern that I want to mimic is purple or a little magenta, so I'm going to use my Liquid-X basic acrylic magenta, and I'm just gonna wing it. We'll see how that goes. Remember that art is always your individual interpretation. So whatever you do, it's right. So the dots kind of extend upwards, and then they kind of die out a little bit. There are these vein striations that kind of mimic the shape of the petal, and they kind of just go up like this. Remember, again, you really can't mess up, and if you do mess up, just paint over it. It's not a big deal. Okay, I'd say that this looks pretty good. I'm actually gonna just do this 2 more times, then move on to the other pieces. So for the big inner middle petals, I've decided to just do a wash of magenta all over it. So I'm just putting the magenta paint on it and then using water to kind of just spread it out. And I really like the texture of it so far because of the duct tape and then, sorry, not the duct tape, because of the masking tape and then the striations of the base white paint coat. It's really made this pretty vein pattern. It's kind of hard to see on camera, and I know that the dots look not ideal right now, but I'm going to fix them and, you know, make them pop a little bit later. But so far I'm just on the second one of this and I'm trying to figure out which direction I want to take it. Okay, so this is what I have after the initial paint job. I'm going to go in with an acrylic marker, with a fine tip acrylic marker, and just put more details throughout the veining and everything, and then maybe make the dots a little more distinct. But so far so good. I'm really excited about how this is coming along. Okay, so now I'm all done painting them. I have to figure out a way to glue them all together. I think I'm just going to use some Gorilla Glue and then we're done. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun, and I hope that this inspires you to make something cool out of your recycling. See you next time. Bye.